Okay, let's dive deeper into this, sort of steep into all this knowledge. And joining us to talk about the world of tea, Dan Bolton. He is the editor of Tea Biz Podcast. Welcome to the program, Dan. Thanks a lot.
Thanks so much for having me.
Okay, we just talked about wholesale tea prices basically stagnating. Tell us more about this, because coffee's been spiking. It's been going way up in cost, but tea, there's so much of it out there, and some of the major importers kind of staying on the sidelines for certain reasons right now.
That's right. There are several factors at play. With inflation easing now after a real steep climb last year, we saw UK prices up to about 262 pence, about $3.28 US. High transport costs have been consistently a problem since the pandemic. And depending on location, geopolitics is a concern, as Russia and Iran, two of the world's top tea importers, are at war and suffering from sanctions. Irregular arrivals of tea for blending due to the Middle Eastern crisis in the Red Sea has caused some shortages in the UK and Europe, also resulting in higher prices and less availability. The climate remains an obstacle to both quality and quantity. And we're seeing branded teas in intense competition with other beverages, mainly herbal infusions. So all the formats are confronting greater consumer demands for third-party certifications of quality and sustainability. And the industry itself is attempting to rise from unsustainably low prices in grocery. Lipton's Peak Tips, for example.
I was just going to get into that, because farm gate prices really aren't going up, but the retail prices of tea seem to be going up. Okay, so how much are they going up? And talk about some of the factors that are driving prices up.
Yeah, we're going to see about a 2 to 3% decline in consumption in places like Europe, US, Canada, and Russia. But offsetting that is a significant increase in consumption by per capita in places like East Asia, Africa, Latin America, and the Near East. So what we've seen is the supply demand balance is out of whack. We've got far too much black tea in the world chasing markets that are less likely to buy them at high prices.
Right.
And we've got a lot more demand in the tea producing countries, but with exception of China, we don't see the prices in those tea producing countries because the most of them, for example, in Africa, are selling for about $2 a kilo. Wow. A kilo makes 300 cups of tea. So it's a very inexpensive drink, and ultimately that's what's at the base. The cost of producing it's rising, but the cost, the prices paid for it are falling.
Right, Dan, before we went to you, we had a story and talked about some of the higher quality tea that is out there. So do you think consumers are more educated, learning more about tea, and really want a higher quality product, or do they just want that Lipton, drop in a bag and go on the run?
Yeah, there's no question at all that consumers who have buying power, consumers in markets where they're affluent, are leaning towards a higher quality tea. And the same can be said in countries like India, but the definition of a higher quality tea in places like India is a clean tea that's packaged, whereas the definition in someplace in Europe might be a fair trade, certified organic, sustainably produced tea. The challenge in both instances is that the farm gate price is low and the farmers' costs are increasing. So the disconnect is that the retailers are generating significantly more money, and so is the middle of the chain, but we're not seeing the actual price of the tea go back down to the farm gate. A quick example is a farmer selling his tea is getting about 0.8 of a penny per cup. And the person who's retailing the tea is getting about 25 to 75 cents.
Oh, that's
so it's so big a gap that what we're going to do is we're going to seriously impair the ability of the producing countries to actually, make ends meet and sustain themselves. Plus, we've seen a remarkable change in consumption, but we've also seen a big diversification in production. So, what happens now is 60% of all the tea is made by smallholders. And
Right.
smallholders don't have access to capital, they can't get investment dollars.
Indeed.
They're the ones that are being pressured to, conserve water and make certification barriers. But having crossed those, they don't find the compensation that allows them to thrive.